Hey there, my name is Zaback and welcome to my YouTube channel. You might be here because you recently watched a video by Jubilee Media, and I want to address in this video a little bit about what my thoughts, what my feelings, and kind of just what my overall experience was going on to Jubilee. Now, Jubilee, is a very interesting company, a very interesting concept, and in this video, I want to share with you exactly what I learned and what I've kind of seen over the years, and also just a couple of other things that you probably saw in the title or in the thumbnail. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash the subscribe button and smash that like button because this is going to be a phenomenal video. So for those of you wondering right now, Jubilee Media is essentially just a large social media group or social media company. And what I mean by that is there's really no brick and mortar business there to my knowledge. There might be, but again, to my knowledge, what it really is it's just views, right? It's just people. The way that it works is on YouTube, obviously, for those of you that don't know, you get paid on views, right? It's essentially cost per mile, CPM, which is the amount of money essentially that you make per every 1,000 views. So when you have a social media brand as big as Jubilee, you're essentially, let's just say you're doing 50 million views a month, you would divide 50 million into, see how many times 1,000 goes into 50 million, and then you would multiply it by whatever their CPM is. So, with a company like that or a niche like that, maybe your CPM is $3 or $4 or $5. It really just depends. It could be higher. It could also be lower. I know people that in the entrepreneur niche have a $20 or $30 CPM, and then obviously you have guys like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and these big like PewDiePie where their CPM's $2 or $3. Okay, so essentially I was able to go onto a show titled "Do All Millionaires Think the Same?" And that is a kind of a show that they're doing right now, I guess, or a series that they're doing right now, and it's called Spectrum. So they've done some other ones. They've done one, I believe, on Do All Teen Moms Think the Same? They've done a few on like Do All like white people or Do All black people or Do All like men or All women think the same? And so essentially, in my opinion, what the Spectrum really boils down to is they're taking controversial subjects, right? Controversial matters or topics, and they're essentially answering the most popular questions per se. So whatever the world views as a popular question, these are things that like you're just curious about, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I think this morning I was like, how many women are in the world compared to men, right? So these are things that just as humans we're naturally curious about. And essentially, Jubilee has been able to build a social media following, okay, a subscriber base, a follower base around the concept of having good equipment, having a good team, being able to essentially leverage all of that to grow this social media, right, to grow their brand, to bring on people like me and all kinds of other people to essentially reveal like or kind of show the world the behind the scenes in each different niche or in each different category, whatever that category is. And some of it ends up being entertainment, right? I know they have another series or multiple other series where it's like odd man out type of deal, right? So there's a guy by the name of Kevin David where there's 5 or 6 or 7 people, and essentially nobody knows who like the quote unquote millionaire is, okay? And so what ends up happening is they like ask each other a bunch of questions, they do a bunch of things, and over the course of that duration of time, you get to draw conclusions of like who the millionaire is out of the 7 or 8 people, and then they get to figure that out, okay? So there's different series on Jubilee, okay? And, I just want to share with you kind of my experience with Jubilee and kind of what my thoughts, what my opinion is after having been on the show. And again, if you found my channel from watching that video, then I appreciate you being here. We are essentially, or what I do is I'm just a normal average guy, okay? I'm a normal average guy that, I had a very basic and humble beginning, and, I worked really hard, and we do real estate, we do like the ATM business, and then there's a couple of other businesses that we run. And again, I don't say that to impress you, I say it simply to just share with you kind of what it is that I do. And I hope that if you're watching this video, that you end up smashing the subscribe button, okay, and joining the family, right, becoming a part of the family, and hopefully I'm able to add a ton of value to your life. That is the only reason that I do what I do, is to add value to you, right, to add value to your life so that you can become better, you can grow and evolve and change, right? Your mindset, you can make passive income, you can start a new business, and just ultimately look at the world from a different point of view, right? From a different perspective, okay? So jumping into actually what my thoughts are about Jubilee. I don't want to drag the video on any longer, and I definitely want you to get a ton of value from the video. So my first thought on Jubilee is that I was under the impression maybe that it would be rehearsed. I had watched like essentially a bunch of videos from Jubilee, okay? Because, they had reached out to me and they were like, look, we want you on the show. And it was a pretty long process. So essentially I was like, okay, well, the questions are probably rehearsed. Like I would imagine that I know what I'm going to be talking about, and maybe, they just don't let the world know that, right? And I mean, look, if you're watching this right now, that's probably the reality of it for a lot of different like TV shows and movies and things of that nature. Like, a lot of things that maybe we don't think are like scripted or whatever, or that we think are scripted aren't, and we think aren't are, right? Like it tends to be the opposite. So with Jubilee, it was actually not rehearsed. I actually did not know what the questions were going to be until the actual day of filming that show. So that was super interesting, I thought, because it actually made it like pretty difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. The questions being answered in that moment, and then obviously having to make a decision, is not the easiest thing in the world. Okay, so it was super interesting though. I thought it was. I liked it for sure. I did think that we would have gotten the questions sooner, and we didn't. So I thought that was really cool. So that is kind of my first thought. If you are thinking of ever going on Jubilee, or if you're watching Jubilee or watching a big show kind of like Jubilee, look, if it's anything like Jubilee, then it isn't rehearsed. Like you don't know what it is that you're going to be asked, which I think is super, super cool. I also didn't know who was going to, so I guess number two, I didn't know who was going to be on the show until that day, okay, until that morning. So it was obviously just, it was Timothy Sykes, it was Graham Stephan, it was me, and then it was Christiana, it was Linda, and it was Melissa, okay? And I didn't know any of that until that morning, which was super interesting, okay? So that is kind of my second thought on Jubilee. I think Jubilee overall is a phenomenal concept. I think they could actually reach a lot more people than they reach. It obviously like opened up my horizons and my perspectives on life and on business and on different things as well. And it's really cool to have opportunities like that to, potentially inspire like millions of people, which is pretty crazy. Like I think overall Jubilee, the idea or the concept is pretty cool, because it's essentially saying, okay, we can rent a warehouse, which I guess would bring me to like my fourth point, is just like literally you film in like a warehouse, okay? But you can rent a warehouse, right? And you can film in a warehouse, and essentially like that is a business model, right? Which is extremely interesting. I mean, 10 years ago, if you'd have said like you could go to a warehouse and film a bunch of like random video where it's not like, this isn't like some big fancy thing, right? Like this isn't like the news or a movie or whatever. Like it's just like, don't get me wrong, they're good at what they do and they have good equipment and stuff, but like it's small time at this point, right? Like it is small. So the fact that you can impact that many lives with maybe, not having a huge team, I think is like extremely cool. I guess my only thing that I would say is that, I wish that Jubilee would ask more questions. That's just me personally though. I wish they would go even deeper. I wish they would dive deeper. I actually wish, like my personal opinion is that they would have longer videos, like 30 or 40 minute videos. I think it is extremely interesting. And I think a lot of the value that you get from Jubilee, or people like Jubilee, is a very different kind of value than you get on like TV or Netflix or Hulu, like traditional different things like that. I think it's just like totally different. It is real and it is raw and it's authentic. And I really like that. And so I wish that the episodes were longer. They asked even more questions. That is just like my personal opinion. Let me know what you think, obviously. Drop in the comment section down below. But I think it would be really cool if like they dove in a little bit more to maybe some things that like aren't so popular, right? Some things that like aren't so like common or popular. Like you can't just like Google it, like, okay, like a little bit deeper, I guess would be my only complaint. So that is that though, in terms of my opinion. And overall, it was a phenomenal experience. So thank you so much, Jubilee, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching this right now as a result of Jubilee in some fashion, any fashion at all, I'd really appreciate it if you joined the family. Like I said, my goal here is just to provide a ton of value. I don't ask for anything in return. I just want to provide value and teach you or show you what I've learned so far in my life. And that is literally it, okay? If you haven't already, smash the subscribe button, smash that like button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.